Control.
All right, yeah, if you could hit the,
What do I do?
I think we just do. Got it? Do I say got it?
Yes,
I'm not leaving the meeting.
no, believe me.
All right, if you could, can you enter? Sorry, guys. There, okay. And it's on, all right, it's 6 o'clock. All right, good evening. This is the June 15th, 2022 New Canaan Police Commission meeting. Welcome to our guests. Let's go into minutes from the previous meeting. Any additions or corrections? I saw none.
None.
I saw them.
Okay, great. All motion to approve.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, those approved. Minutes from the May 9th meeting. I saw nothing either there. Okay.
No changes
No
here.
changes. No changes. Motion to approve.
So
Gabriel?
moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, got it. Monthly reports, chief.
First report is our budget. End of May, we should be at 91.63. We're actually at 79.40, but I expect some of those accounts to be caught up on and paid. A little bit of a delay with paying some bills in finance sometimes, especially towards the end of the fiscal year. And but I am anticipating that we'll be under budget by maybe 1.5% or so.
Okay, so there isn't anything we have to move around?
Nope, not right now.
Adjustments, okay, great.
Within the next couple of weeks, maybe, but all the other lines look pretty good.
Yep, agreed.
Animal control was at 77.50, so that's also good. There. Next report I have is their staffing. We worked 54.25% of the time with minimum shift, which is a little bit worse than the previous year and previous 2 years. So that's as a result of some efficiencies we have with officer on injury leave, et cetera.
Mhm.
And our lost time was about 28.40, which comparing to previous 2 years is also a little bit high. So that's connected to our staffing. Next report I have is our monthly statistics. Burglaries 9 versus 1. So that's an increase. Our detectives are working on that. It's a Fairfield County issue. There's a group going around primarily Fridays and doing burglaries, but I'm sure we'll catch them sooner rather than later.
Chief, and those are home burglaries? Not
Yes.
cars, that's right.
Those are home burglaries, yes.
Are they break-ins or people have been leaving their doors open?
Nope, there's some mix, but there's been some alarms on. Usually they'll get in through a sliding glass door, which usually aren't alarmed. So that's a good point for crime prevention, alarm your sliding glass doors. And they're in and out very quickly, and typically no one has been home. So they're likely watching the houses to see if someone's home. But they haven't been unlocked houses. Some have not had alarms on, but they've all,
Okay,
aside from maybe 1 or 2, been worse thinkers.
Yep.
Family disputes 33 versus 25, so that's a good increase. Not all of those are considered domestic violence or resulted in an arrest, but that's typically good news that people are calling us for help, and we're able to help them with those sometimes very difficult situations. Larcenies from vehicles 11 versus 17, so that's a decline. Hoping that trend continues and people don't leave valuables in their cars and lock their cars. Location checks 756 versus 273. That's a substantial increase. Good work by officers patrolling areas, specifically parks, more frequently to try to prevent these folks from breaking into cars and or doing other crimes like that. Motor vehicle accident property damage. It's 157 versus 131, and injury is 14 versus 8. That's a increase we kind of expected due to increasing traffic, and now that things are normalized now, but we'll continue to do enforcement in those high accident locations. Psychiatric problem 33 versus 22, that's a significant increase. And of course, our officers handle those calls very well and with great compassion. And I have to give them a lot of credit for that. And the good news is people are calling us for help in that regard. So if that continues. School check 47 versus 45. It's a little bit of an increase, but you're going to see school's almost over. So that's probably you're not going to see the school checks anymore until end of August, going through next year. That's connected to an initiative that we have on our topics for discussion that we'll talk about.
And Chief, on school bus violations, just the line above 61 versus 28. I mean, it's just,
Yes,
are they just blowing through these school buses? I mean, it's 15
typically the
versus-
driver will come in with a video.
Yeah.
The buses have video on them.
Right.
Report the violation, and if it meets the criteria under the statute, the officer will issue an infraction.
Okay,
And give the person a ticket. That's the offender.
got it.
But it's a very clear-cut violations most of the time because it's right on video. We get a statement from the driver, so tough case to be recorded.
Okay,
Stolen vehicle 10 versus 18, so that's a decrease. I hope that trend continues. Hopefully it's due to people being a little more cautious, but on Memorial Day, we did 3 vehicles stolen around 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. All had the keys in them. 2 of them were recovered in Meriden, and Fairfield about a week later had a pursuit of a carjacking vehicle, meaning the people used a handgun or some kind of weapon to steal a car, and they ended up getting a pursuit. They arrested the 2 juveniles, and one of them was from Meriden. They had ghost guns in the car and drugs in the car, and who knows if it's connected to ours, but that Meriden connection keeps popping up, so that's a cause for concern.
Yep.
That's all I have for
Got it.
statistics.
I noticed just one last thing, Chief, false alarms, 278, and it went up to 382. So that's about a 1/3 increase. What does that relate to? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Andrew, any idea? Okay. Andrew usually tracks those and does mitigation of our false alarms.
I think we've had more construction going on too. I think it's usually the contractor sets them off.
Yeah, that could be.
Maybe that's
I mean,
it.
people are getting out more, not
Yeah.
staying at home.
That's probably the main thing is that they're not home as much as they were last year.
Right.
due to, restrictions and COVID restrictions.
Yeah.
The alarms are on, right?
That's declined over the years. We used to have around 1,500 alarms every year, so that's down
Strong market.
dramatically. So hopefully that continues. We'll take a closer look at that and see if we can figure out a cause. Next report is extra duty aging. That's actually in very good shape. Only 30,000 is 31 days or over, which is a very low number. So kudos to our finance department for collecting those monies. That's good news. That was extra duty, right? So
Yeah, that's actually,
okay, false alarm aging. I haven't heard back from the CFO yet about what their plan is for the over 120, which is the bulk of money that's uncollected, 11,865. But I will follow up with her, so she has a plan. I know a third-party agency does the collections and all that, so we'll connect and I'll have an answer for you next meeting.
I talked to the treasurer the other day, just because he didn't seem to know about this.
Mhm.
So he said, oh, I'll take a look at that too.
Good.
Yeah, and Andrew didn't know.
Great.
I said, there's 2 reports, that and that. Yeah, thanks. Okay. Any other reports there? Okay, topics for discussion. Stop sign request, Woodland Road and Elm Place. And who's here from Elm Place or Woodland? Hey, Peter. Peter
I should have
Detlefsen.
introduced myself to everybody. I didn't get a chance. I'm Peter Ditlevson. I live at 25 Orchard Lane. Lived here since 2014. And I have 3 young kids. Right now they're 8, 11, and 14, but I've been walking along Woodland, going up to South for all these years. And the problem that we have,
Pull that up.
I feel like it's gotten worse. I mean, it's taken me this long to get here to make this request, but I've been thinking about it for pretty much 6, 7 years. So if you're familiar with the 2 roads, here's Woodland coming down from south, up here south. So here's Woodland. Here's Elm. and Woodland continues down here, and this is where the yield sign is. Now, what happens is, well, first of all, people just drive too fast. That we all know. The only people who drive slowly are people like me who have kids. And there are children now, in the last couple of years, there's a house here with 3 young kids. There's a house here with three, they have 3 young kids. There's a house here with 2 young kids. I have 3. On our lane, and they're all sort of 3, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, John, when we were on the phone, when I mentioned this to him, he said, well, neighborhoods change. And that's why sometimes signs need to change. So the reason I'm here is that when I walk my son, I usually meet him up here. Meadow. I usually meet him up here, and when I'm walking here from my house to get up to meet him, almost every day, someone comes flying down, either eastbound or westbound, and there are brushes here that prohibit good vision. And the house that is here, now, I'm not going to complain about them or whoever it is, maybe the house that's here, they always have cars parked on this side of the road. So it is actually quite wide here, but when they park their cars here, and trust me, there's always 2 or 3. It narrows this part right here. So I've actually walked right here with my son and had to do this. And I'm thinking one day something's going to happen. What will help this? Well, besides the speed that, people need to, speed bump is necessary somewhere here on Woodland. But the first thing, the most important thing right now that we could do is change this yield sign to a stop sign. Because people coming up Elm sometimes completely ignore this sign. I have so many times come home and going here down Woodland, and people completely ignore this. And in a panic, I'll put on my blinker, which I don't think I'm not obligated to put on my blinker to show that I'm going down Woodland, but they just blow through it. And it's not just young kids, maybe the majority is young, 17, 18, whatever, but I've seen grown-ups do it as well. So this kind of just adds to the danger that we have here. I think if there was a stop sign here, people at least slow down, have a look, and then continue so that this dangerous part here becomes less dangerous. I'm really here not asking for a speed bump. I'm here to ask just to put a stop sign here.
Versus the yield sign.
Replace the yield with a stop.
Got it. And that's on Elm as you're heading
It's
east.
on Elm as it splits
Or is it
off.
Woodland?
It's on Woodland.
It's on Elm?
Yeah.
It's on Elm as you're heading then west.
East.
Correct. West.
It's west, I think.
Well, you don't.
My map,
you
I'm
only-
trying to-
well, you see it coming west. You don't see it going east.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
Can I look at your
Yeah.
map?
I don't know if that's, it's north there.
I know the area very well. Because I go down Woodland, because I live on Green,
Right.
and that corner, I've actually like seen people, and there's a tree there too, if I'm not mistaken. Sometimes they just go, and if you don't slow down, those people don't stop and they're gonna hit you.
Right. I'm very surprised. I don't know any records if you've had any accidents there yet, but it's just dangerous. And the thing is, with that many more little kids in the area, we have in the new houses that are further down on Woodland, there's 5 new kids, and their father walks their dog and their children to and from school every single day. You may have seen him, here's a cat, he's always walking, God bless him. But he also has told me, he's lived in this house for something like 6 months, and he's like, this road is out of control. I hate walking on this road.
Right, and we have no sidewalks there, right?
No,
Okay.
but there's a
John,
lot of kids, and really, that's what it's all about. I mean, grown-ups can hear and listen and jump out of the way, but I'm just
okay,
petrified. I refuse to let my 8-year-old walk home alone. That's why I don't mean. That's all I had. Thanks
Okay.
for
have
listening.
a seat. Okay, good. John, thoughts?
So yeah, so I've actually had this request a couple of years ago. But it was during the time that Main Street was under construction, so a lot of that traffic was artificial, because it was, it was a detour route, so.
Right.
We didn't really pursue the matter at that time. Now, obviously, the construction's done, so. But it still is a cut-through road. I use it every day when I leave here to get down to Main Street, so I'm familiar with it as well. And, but I did do a little bit more research on yield signs versus stop signs, and they're really very similar. The language, the criteria for them is very similar. The reason why you would put in a yield sign is when you have more of a merging situation such as this than you do as far as a sort of a T intersection or more of a 90-degree intersection where you
Yeah,
want
gotcha.
to stop sign.
Right.
The other things that you look at are traffic volume, approach speeds, lines of sight. So I went out there today, and if you are coming up Elm Place, approaching that yield sign, on that island, there's a big tree, and it's a lot of foliage and a lot of undergrowth has grown out of control there, and it prohibits a good line of sight if you're looking down Woodland where you need to look. So I've asked Tiger to have Public Works cut all that down to see if that helps improve the line of sight. And then I also am going to have the speed sentries put out on Elm Place to get traffic volume count to see if the numbers are such that the volume is increased where we need to consider putting a stop sign. But I would probably recommend at first we cut back and improve the line of sight first to see if that improves the situation. Because like I said, even if there's a stop sign there, if people are inclined to roll through it and roll through it, they may do the same thing for a stop sign. as
They
they would for
can't
yield.
see, right?
They're still required to stop for a yield sign as they would a stop sign. So if they're going through it, they would still be in violation as they would with a stop sign. So we could certainly increase some enforcement out there as well.
Thoughts?
What would be the disadvantage of just going right ahead right now, putting up a stop sign? Because I mean, for me, like if I see a stop sign, that makes me want to say, all right, that's the stop sign, I'm going to completely stop. Where for like a yield will just you kind of coming to a stop, but then you're speeding.
Well, I think the disadvantage is that people that have used that for so long recognize that it's a yield sign, and the stop sign would be new, so we have to retrain the drivers that are used to going through there that it's now a stop sign, and you would have to come to a full stop regardless if there's any traffic coming or not. Which, you know, we could put up some display signs and really draw attention to it. But I don't know that it's going to improve the situation to a degree that's to solve what's being described there. We haven't had accidents there, fortunately. And I'm not one to wait for an accident to
Right,
happen
right.
either. But I would, just having one out there today, I think improving the line of sight will help vehicles coming up Elm Place see oncoming traffic. But as you said, cars go too fast everywhere, so that is an additional problem that the stop sign is not going to help with that either. So we ought to look at doing some increased enforcement in the area if possible.
Is the principal problem that the cars on, is it Woodland? On Woodland are speeding?
Both, but the thing is, people are ignoring the yield sign completely. I have not seen, I mean, you can ask, if you interviewed all of the neighbors who live in this area, everybody has an example of them coming down Woodland
Yeah.
and cars coming towards you from Elm, ignoring the sign where you have to stop
Right.
because they're blowing past you where they should have stopped or slowed down. They just don't slow down.
Right, and
Everyone has almost been in an accident, almost. And I am surprised that there haven't been.
right, and again, we don't want to wait for an accident either. And it has what's happened with the neighborhood? Has it changed over the last few years where there's a lot more children?
Absolutely.
I think that's happened in a lot of neighborhoods.
I can give you a list of, there are probably 12 to 15 children between the ages of 1 and 6
That's sort of new
that are new.
now. Yeah.
Because they've all moved in after we moved in. We moved in 2014.
Okay, got it.
And John, did you at all look at this question of the cars that are parked and thereby,
They're parked legally, and that, if anything, that probably helps the flow of traffic because it constricts it if it's wide open.
If they
cars-
slow
cars-
down,
If they slow down.
they don't slow down, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah,
They're winging around that corner.
right.
And don't forget, one more important thing here is that these kids don't get a school bus, okay? Or take that back, at a certain grade, the school buses, you don't get the school bus because you get too close to school. So they're gonna walk. And that's why you have a lot of walkers. Yeah. A lot of foot traffic.
Okay, and I think that's probably increased a lot over the last couple of years. Okay.
I'd like to look into it a little bit further before we decide on the stop sign just tonight. I'd like to take a month and study it a little bit more and just get some data from the speed sentries and see what traffic volume we have there. Cut back that vegetation, see if there's any improvement with that, but then also do some observations with some enforcement. To see if we have any enforcement issues there.
Okay, who owns the vegetation? Is it town?
I think it's town, because it's on that island. Between Elm Place and Woodland.
Yeah, this
There's
island.
sort of a big oak tree.
This is an island. I didn't draw it. but
Yeah, that's
it
okay.
connects, so it's a triangle.
It's a town island? It's not, Okay, so who mows the grass and does that now? Do we, the town occasionally?
Yeah.
Once in a while?
Is there any
I-
way that, I'm sorry to cut you
No,
off, is
no.
there any way that we could do that? So when September comes back around and if we need to put up a stop sign, I really think that then we can go ahead and put one.
Yeah, I
Well, we can have it at our next meeting too. We're meeting in July.
Perfect.
yeah, I could have.
So
some-
July?
Yeah. I would like to just get a month to look at it a little bit closer.
Okay,
Okay.
I would tend, after hearing you and Peter, I would tend to put the stop sign in as well. Just,
I don't think there's any huge drawback. It would just be a little bit reconditioning drivers in that area. a little
that's,
bit,
and it's
but-
fine, they slow them down, you know,
Yeah, reconditioning them to stop.
yeah.
Typically, we do see an increase in accidents when we put stop signs in places where they aren't, as people rear end each other,
Yeah,
et cetera.
I
And
know.
and then, you know, the other disadvantage is now drivers on Woodland would, you know, anticipate those vehicles stopping, but
If
they
they
may
don't,
not.
right.
So that creates a little bit of a hazardous
Yeah,
situation.
okay.
We really have to
Okay, so let's,
educate people. And
yeah.
we don't want to make too drastic a change, you know, without properly putting the word out.
Got it.
So,
okay,
but I'll get those studies done and get a closer look at it.
Okay.
And we can circle back on it for
for next
July.
one. That's it. Okay, fair enough. Okay, got it. Thank you. Thank you. Paul, you're next.
I am Paul Reinhardt,
Good.
founder of the New Canaan Parent Support Group. I founded, it's hard to believe,
We're
over
now
5
6 years.
ago.
Yeah.
In tribute to my son, who died of an overdose. We have weekly parent support meetings, we have monthly pathway sessions, and we have an annual community addiction awareness vigil. And that's why I'm here to ask again this year for the 6th year, if we could close off part of South Avenue, where we usually do it from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. on September 1st. And with a rain date, that's just before Labor Day weekend, that's a Thursday. And
Okay.
then the rain date would be the following Tuesday after Labor Day weekend, which is September 6th.
Okay. From what time to what time?
2 to 10 is the time that we would need it
10
to
PM.
get things set up and then get it down. Yeah.
Okay, it's the, you know, where the formerly known as
yeah.
the place we don't mention.
Can we come up with another name for it?
We need
We need another name for
we need
it.
another name for that area,
Yeah.
the road closure area. Okay, I would be in favor of this. You're in favor of this. You're in favor
I'm in
of this.
favor.
Motion to approve.
Motion to
Second.
approve closure of,
All those in favor? Aye. Yeah.
aye.
So it'd be September 1st between the hours of 2 PM to 10 PM with a rain date of September 6th between 2 and 10 PM. In that area, it's really Morse Court turn off to Elm, right?
Paul, do you usually hire an officer?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
We should have an officer there, just for traffic flow and stuff.
My understanding is that if he thought that, or she thought that cert was needed, that they coordinate, so that's good.
Right, and right, and you can coordinate with Tucker Murphy too, for all the insurance and all the sign offs and all that, what you need to do, the usual, you know, what to do.
Right.
Right, so it's, assuming that that is all done, then you have permission to do that. How's that?
Great.
Great,
Yeah, thanks.
no, thank you.
Decided not to wait till July.
No, that's good,
We'll get it over with.
that's good. Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you,
Thank you.
thanks. See, ARPA funding,
Sure, I've
Chief.
discussed this with you
Yep.
all individually
Yep.
and kind of memorialize that in the memo, which I'm hoping is clear enough. And originally back in August, when we were asked to identify items related to ARPA funding, I was asking for public education and enforcement for surge of stolen vehicles, theft vehicles, a portable fingerprinting device, and a secure cabinets. I didn't hear anything until recently when Tucker, actually, she's on the call now, contacted me and asked if we were still needing of that funding. And given what happened in Uvalde and concerns in our community about school safety and security, I reframed and thought about the request. I thought it would be wise to, instead of using the monies for public education and enforcement and the fingerprinting device, which we actually subsequently got a device from the state at no cost, to use 110,000 to hire an officer every school day. So that's 180 school days, starting when school begins again in August through the end of the school year next year. And that would allow us to fund that and hire an officer dedicated just to patrolling and checking all the schools, and that'd be their sole focus. Sometimes where staffing is short, and although we do school checks, this would likely increase school checks to several thousand a year if all goes well. And it'll only enhance security.
that's right.
I spoke with the superintendent, and he's very supportive of it. And I think it'll be a great initiative and a way to, I think, increase police presence near all our schools, including private. And I think it'll help us as a midway measure to enhancing school security.
And you'll speak to the headmasters at the private schools as well?
Yeah, we want to make sure that they're comfortable with increased control, and that could cause some concern if people aren't used to seeing police cars driving through the school, creating anxiety. So we want to make sure that's communicated so people are aware. And so that's the kind of synopsis there, and that it's about $108,000 in total, but it depends on which level officer is hired and what the cost would be. But that's kind of a ballpark. 110 will all in will allow us to hire for 180.
Okay, would it be a dedicated officer like Monday through Friday, or would we rotate around different officers that, all right, today your shift is here?
It'd be
It's
based
hard
on,
to do because you're kind of treated, you know.
it'd be based
because
on
of
union
issue.
hiring and
Okay.
requests. So we would post the request. Officers would sign up for it based on the number of hours they have, et cetera, seniority.
Right,
So it would be different officers likely. I'm sure some officers would like to do it and they would sign up for it regularly.
okay,
And it would be a priority job, so we would make sure that it's filled, absent some unusual circumstances, but, so that's kind of how.
yeah, because it doesn't naturally, fit. Well, almost naturally fits the shifts,
Pretty close.
pretty
Yeah.
close.
Depending on
We
the
might,
hours.
we might do the hours a little different
Yeah.
than 7 to 3, maybe 7:45.
Yeah, yeah.
3:45, so we get good coverage at all the schools.
Right.
And I'm sure it'll be welcomed, because now as everybody is very much aware of what happened in Texas and other places. So the time to be really more cautious and thoughtful and less complacent is months from now, years from now.
Right, that's right.
And so let's continue that initiative, and I'm hopeful next budget will ask for some funding so we can continue this initiative with the specific line related to school security and safety and enhance that in that way, and trying to do our part. As you know, we have a school resource officer at the junior high school. In fact, Matt Blank is now the junior high school school resource officer who was selected earlier this week. And Jeff Deek is moving over to the high school, so that they enhance security amongst a whole litany of things they do as a school resource officer. So we're looking for some extra coverage to elementary schools and private schools, which don't get all that much police presence.
And who was at the high school?
Excuse me,
Who was at the high school?
was at the high school, Jeff Lambert.
Oh, okay.
That's,
Okay, this is great. You don't need our support. We're okay with this.
yes,
Right?
yes.
We don't need a vote on this. Do we? I don't think we do.
I don't think we need a vote. Do we?
No.
We've already communicated. our
Can if you
support.
want.
All right, well, why don't we do it? Why don't we have a vote? I think we're
I would
unanimous.
just add that I think it's a very good idea. I think it's a good idea when you, assuming when this funding comes through, that one or two officers become familiar with the various schools, with the layout of the school, the personnel at the school, the administrators, the teachers, whether that's one or two that take turns. I personally think there's a benefit to that if there were some sort of emergency, whether it be a shooting or something else, they know the layout of the school, they know the people who are there, they know who to go to, et cetera, and they even know the kids.
We actually have that for several years. We have liaison officers at all the schools
Yeah.
that can have a direct connection to all the schools. They're very familiar with them.
Oh, okay.
Officers, we've done training at mostly all the schools over the years, so officers are pretty familiar with the layout. The reality is if you're going to a really high stress dynamic situation, you're not going to be remembering where this hallway is, this room is. You're going to go direct to the threat and stop that threat from happening. That's what. our
Right,
officers are
but
trained to do.
if we do get this new resource officer, he will be familiar with, because he'll be there every day, right? He'll be,
It won't be the same.
It won't be the
same
same person. Right? No, we're gonna rotate, around.
We have to follow a union hiring
really,
requirements, yeah.
all right. I guess what I'm suggesting is I see a benefit to it being a limited number of people so that they do have that familiarity. I don't know what you can do with the union on that, but
Yeah.
The possibility, if we assign a full-time elementary school SRO and use the money to backfill the shift overtime that creates.
Maybe we can talk about that. Yeah.
we could look at it.
Yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons of that.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. There's a lot of different options potentially, but it's certainly going to be better than what we've done. So we can evolve and change the process as need be to make it better, refocus it. So there's a lot of
Right,
other
right.
different things too. We'll talk about. it.
Paul,
What
it's
we'd like
Tucker.
to
Can you hear
have
me?
then is a motion to approve this memo, that we back this memo. Okay.
Tucker wanted to say something, but
Oh,
I don't know
she
if she's
did?
on mute or
oh,
not.
yeah, think,
Who's
Yeah.
that?
It's Tucker. Can you, sorry, I'm
Tucker.
starting a town council
We
meeting.
can't hear
Yeah.
you.
Tucker, you're on mute.
she's on
I'm
mute.
on
Oh, we
mute?
are on mute.
No, she's not on
No,
mute,
I'm not.
but-
No, then it must
Is she
be.
on mute on here as a host? Is the host put her on?
Oh, that's
I'm
weird.
not, can you hear me?
So-
Tucker, hold on.
Hold on,
Okay.
Tucker.
Okay.
We can't hear you. Can you hear us? Put your finger up if
yes.
you can hear us. Okay, we
I don't
can't
know
hear
why
you.
I can't hear you.
I'm not,
Is the volume up?
How about this?
That's- I don't
How
think
about
so.
this thing?
Oh, that's it. I bet.
can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you
Alright,
hear me
guys.
now?
Technology.
Can you hear me
Volume's up
now?
to 100.
It is?
Yeah.
And
Hello?
how's that? Tucker? Hello?
Hello?
No.
It's weird.
Nothing?
And the
I'm
volume's
not
up on
muted.
here?
Now, Michael are
Yeah.
They're
both muted,
muted.
but she's not.
I'm not muted.
She just.
It's up all the way.
Hello?
Hold on.
Can she
Can you
type
unclick that?
something on the
Yeah.
chat?
Can you
unclick.
unclick the
Hello?
alarm only?
Yeah. Okay.
Tell her to try now.
How's that?
Hello? Can you hear me?
No.
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 No. That's not Wi-Fi, and she should be right there.
Technical difficulties, Tucker.
Okay.
Huh.
Maybe try to log off and log back in, Tucker.
No,
Of
I'm
the Zooms?
I'm there. I'm gonna call Paul.
Yeah.
There she go.
Paul?
How many times, they're only patrolling the outside of the schools?
Not this,
Okay,
for this new initiative,
yeah,
not necessarily. I mean, they could stop in, and
okay.
pop in and check the doors. There's all kinds of potential, sure.
How many, like, they
That's-
just go from school, how many times do you think in a day? Or
How's
it
that, Tucker?
depends?
I was roughly guessing around 16.
There she is.
That's your sole responsibility.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you.
Oh, there we
You
go.
are?
Oh, yay.
On
It
myself.
said the host unmuted me.
Okay.
Okay. Look,
All right. I just wanted to just follow up on that, on the presentation, what the process has been for the ARPA funds just going forward, so everyone understands. Leon just sent the request over tonight. The way all of the requests have been handled is it will go through a Board of Selectmen review. And if the Board of Selectmen, recommends it on to the other town bodies, there is a small subcommittee of the town council and Board of Finance that have been reviewing all of ARPA requests before the Board of Finance and town council review them. So there's a little bit of a process involved. It's a good process, but it does take some time. So I'll work with Leon directly on that in terms of scheduling. And he can be in touch with you all, but I just wanted you to understand the next stop on the tour.
Okay, great. No, thanks. And then what we want to make sure that you understand or that boards understand that we are all in favor of this. So, because in case somebody asks, well, what did the commission say? And now you have the answer.
Got it.
Or you will have the answer. Great.
Okay.
Oh, no, thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you. I'm going to hang up on you. Sorry. All right, so I need a motion to approve this memo.
So I move,
Your motion, you're seconding.
okay,
Okay.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 Should
Aye.
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 I- Okay.
Aye. The motion approved. All right, that's
Okay.
good. Chief, you're good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Renovation update.
So I believe we have a meeting next week where a decision could be made.
As I understand, we're heading towards picking an architect. And this is the building committee working with the other town officials. And there's a couple different plans and we're trying to, I think it's more important to get to the architect first. And then develop the plan or adjust the plans accordingly after we actually have somebody that we're going to roll up our sleeves with and really get into details with. So I think that's where we're headed. Tuesday, I think it's Tuesday morning.
20th, right?
Yeah. So so progress is being made. I'm favoring, sort of gutting this all out, blowing out the back. It's sort of, we call it the town hall approach. We sort of save the three sides here, save the floors. But then downstairs has to be cleaned out, the front has to be cleaned out, the back blown out, and then just refigure it as most efficiently and as possible.
Can I just ask a
Yeah.
question, just because I'm trying to get my head around, how is this committee, does it, or who, or how is it structured? I know you're on it, and who
Ex
else?
officio, Yeah, we don't vote.
Yeah,
We're all
I
advisory.
vote.
He
Okay.
votes.
I vote, but it's Bill Walbert is our co-chairman.
Okay,
And there's a number of ex sort of building committee people who've done buildings around the town. Board of Ed, this, the usual blend of Democrats, Republicans, the usual, number. I don't know, I think there's 8 or so, 9, I just don't recall. And so we've been meeting for a while to vet out all of the needs that we have as a department and what's the most efficient way to get this building done. I've, of course, have said in the past, I want to rip the whole thing down and start all over because I think at the end of the day, that's the cheapest and most efficient way to do it. There's concerns in town that the preservationists would want to save the front and that we'd go into a long bit of negotiations or discussions similar to what the library went through.
Mhm.
And what we'd rather do is just advance the ball and be done with that. We also need a training center. As we all know, the training center won't fit in the back because we need a larger training center these days. And that is so that we are training our officers and professionals in the environment in which they have to work. We can't do that up at Worcester Mountain. I don't think we can wait 2 or 3 or 5 or whatever years to have a regional center. Our plan is to have a center here in town. There's a couple of locations that we're trying to vet out right now. And that we can, in fact, the chief has reached out to a couple other departments and that they've expressed interest in writing checks, not so much for the building, but to rent it out from us. What that allows us to be able to do is efficiently take people on shift, train, go to off, come back from your training, go stay on shift, et cetera, and move people around rather than sending people, an hour and a half away to some other remote training facility that you'd only use a couple times a year. And I think we're all in favor of more training and more training. So that's where we are in that process.
so is the main focus right here, and then later on will be the the training? Are you doing
No,
them both at the same time?
I am voting for a parallel that we need both buildings at the same time. My fear is that if we get this done, then that building sort of just gets lost in the process. And we just can't have that. This is 2022, and you just can't run a department, any police, any professional organization, the way it's been done in the past. That we must have this training center is overdue and necessary. But I don't want it to get lost in town bodies where they say, I'll just hold it, I'll hold that thought. But you know where I'm coming from.
I'm gonna leave. Thank you very much for.
Thank
all
you.
of your time.
Thanks, Peter.
Take care.
Does
Thank you
Peter
all.
need to come back in July?
I'll be in touch with you in between.
Okay. Oh, well,
We'll circle back, and if you do want to come back, or you.
should I leave a phone number or anything? You don't.
We'll come and get you.
I know where you are.
We know what.
Thanks again.
Thanks, Peter. I think it's, that's what I'm trying to do is
Yeah.
keep this as a parallel discussion. Yep, okay. Letters of appreciation.
Sure. First letter is from Lieutenant Ferraro recognizing Officer Pollock and Rienzi. They were actually working an extra duty job, and an individual had a severe laceration. They responded, applied a tourniquet, and helped prevent that patient's blood loss and preparedness and training that they've been trained to do. So great job for those officers in assisting in that manner. Next, thank you is another medical service call for Officer Connolly, Bartuli, and Ogrick. And this paramedic is actually very complimentary of our officers and saying their assistance was instrumental in safe extrication and transport of the patient. And the professionalism, dedication is much appreciated. So it's nice to get the notes from agencies that we work with regularly.
Nice.
Although we don't get them enough, but when we do, we very much appreciate that. Next, thank you is to officers Coughlin, Blank, Bartuli, CC, and regarding a Dunkin' Cop event that they had during Cafe and Carburetors. They raised over $1,800 for Special Olympics, which is an exceptionally great cause. So thanks to those officers for supporting that and raising those funds for Special Olympics. Next, thank you is related to peer interview process for which we recently ran. It's from Sergeant Mitchell to Captain Walsh, Lieutenant Ogrick, Officer Deacon, Officer Obando for their assistance in that process that helped us get the 2 officers that we've just hired. So great work by everyone involved. Next, thank you is related to another Special Olympics event that Officer Coughlin actually spearheaded, and for our department at least. And also Sergeant Mitchell, Officer Lopez, Officer Gibson, Officer Clark, Chanella, and Vincenzi. Lopez and Gibson all ran part of the leg in Norwalk because it no longer comes to New Canaan. And, they did a great job there representing our department and helping support Special Olympics. So thanks again to all those officers.
Any other? Okay. Just lastly, kind of on a new business, is it? Chief and I have discussed this, bricks on Elm Street. It's getting done. They're going. We've had
Works commencing again on Monday.
right. We've had complaints, and we want to let everybody know that it's being pursued.
Yes. The bump out street.
But there were bricks left over. Basically, the project started there, and then another project started on me down here, on a different street, and they had to take the people from one street, put them on another before the paving came, and they kind of had a rush job, and they left the bricks there. Merchants were annoyed that the bricks were still there. Now the bricks are going to be moved on because there's still some patching that needs to be done. Patching's going to start on Monday, we're told. So, and then get rid of all the bricks and stones and things. But it just seemed to go on a little longer than was necessary. All right, next, executive session.
Sure.
Let's go into executive session for a couple minutes.
I think we have to vote for that.
You do.
Move that we go to executive session.
Aye. Thank you, Grace. And we need the training center, Grace. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you.